Appreciate that. Much love, my man. Up here in the top right-hand side, in the blue, representing Team Liquid, it is Uthermal. Down here in the bottom left, in the red, representing Q-Lash, it is Elazer. Cool, 75 bucks on the line, guys. 50 for the winner, 25 for the loser. And so far, Uthermal showing impressive play in this show match. Halfway House with a 3-month resub said, thanks for being the best SCG streamer out there. Thank you so much, Halfway House. Appreciate the support, my friend. In-depth. Can I do an in-depth analysis of the first game? Voonkit would really like to know more on how he positioned his tanks. That's a good question. I think we'll definitely go take a look at that game because that was such sick play. That was just beautiful. That was really, really beautiful. Will it be 3-0? I'd be surprised. I actually thought Elazer would beat Uthermal. I thought he would beat him. Yeah. If it's a 3-0, I'm going to be like, guys, can you play one more fun map? Fun map? Just because I want to see more games. I want to see more games. For now, I'd love to see Elazer just go back to some regular play and see how he can do. I think realistically, the defense of the counterattacks was one of the key points in game one. If we think about how that map worked, Elazer never did anything to hurt Uthermal. Like, Uthermal's defense was so good, but at the same time, you can look at that and you can say maybe you should have just been a bit more creative as Elazer. Maybe you should say, okay, yeah, he's defending really well, but let's actually send more units. You know what? Sending 30 Zerglings and a few Banelings? Why not just send 100 Zerglings? Like, just go crazy with it. Maybe that would have been the secret to getting some momentum and suddenly force Uthermal to, like, react harder. But the sensor tower for Uthermal was a big part of why he was able to respond as well as he was. Drone has gone out to hide at the third, but it is going to be a more regular link speed timing this game. Not that new opening, which Elazer was trying out there, of course. Oh my god, that drone! Oh, shit. Oh my god, almost lost that drone. Great control from the Reaper. Almost gets 2 drones, doesn't quite force any cancel tricks. So in the end, it works out well for Elazer, but dancing with death were those couple of drones. And back at home, same opening as always for Uthermal. I mean, I love this opening as well. Only difference is I never build the Viking first. I've been toying with it. I've been toying with always going Viking first. And I also have been doing Raven more recently with that auto turret harass. But I love this barracks gas. You know, it's just very economic. You get a very well-timed third command center off the back of this. It does slow down your initial Hellion pressure, though. Definitely something to be said for investing in Hellions as fast as possible off gas first and really keeping the pressure up. Thank you, Budster. Appreciate that, my friend. I will definitely use that later. Ooh. Did he get any kills? No, he didn't get a single kill. Alright, we got Cloak on the way once again here. Overlord looking for the scout. Gonna come in and see what it can see. Oh, Creep Tumor in the open. He's gonna go for it. He's gonna go for it. He might get it. He might get it. The laser does cancel it at the last second, and we'll still be able to use that. Once again, Overlord is gonna go down. Marine's gonna say, you're gonna die for that, mate. And the Viking, oh, if the Viking pops out, that's kind of a tell. He'd actually prefer the Marine to kill it before the Viking pops. And there we go. Elazer doesn't have vision of what pops out of the starport. So now Elazer needs to be worried about a Cloaked Banshee getting into his mineral line at about like 4 minutes 40, that sort of timing. I guess maybe off this opening, maybe 4:45, something like that. Yeah, something like that. About 4:45, 4:50. Off a gas first, it's about 4:30. If you go for the fastest possible one, off the standard opening, it's about, I think I've seen Gumiho get in there at like 4:17, 4:18, something like that, with his like crazy fast Banshee, his old Hyperflight Rotors build. Definitely could get in by 4:20. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh! The Zergling wraparound is so clean. Baits him up the ramp, but somehow Uthermal's Hellions are, man, they're all oiled up. They managed to slip out and do still kill 3 drones, but a great defense there by Elazer. And damn! This time, the early game goes much better for the Polish Zerg. He's actually like, alright, dude, you've messed me up 2 games in a row. It's time for the comeback train. Double Engineering Bay is still faster for Uthermal this game, but look at this. He's like, oh shit, I actually have no units right now. Look at this follow-up, guys. He's got a Viking, a Banshee, and oh, the Banshee Very good. It's going to be safe. It's going to come and clean up those Banelings. Elazer wasn't building any extra Zerglings behind this, but he did already commit to about 30 Zerglings in total this game. So if he could bust those bunkers and run in there, there was a small window to do damage. But instead, Uthermal's like, nah, got a Banshee for safety. Going into tanks, 3 barracks production. My 3rd CC's up. I've got the double engineering bay. This is just the same as game 1. Same sort of order. He's just hasn't committed to the... Actually, did he end up finishing the Liberator in game number 1? I'm trying to remember. I'll have to go back when we analyze that replay. I feel like he was building a Lib, but then we didn't actually see it hit. Maybe I just missed that part of the action because I'm a terrible observer. We'll see how it goes, how it develops here. This game's by no means over, guys. You know, this obviously the game is very seesawy, especially with the way these guys play at this level, where they're like, oh, I'm ahead, now I'm going to get more ahead, right? They're both really good at that. Like, Elazer's droning up the 3rd pretty hard. He's got the gases there. The 4th is on the way. Going up into Hydra Bane. Melee carapace upgrades. Like, this is all good stuff. The creep spread, once again, going to be the big bonus. And potentially going to find some better angles for counterattacks this time around. The Viking and the Banshee poking in there. This Banshee has a total of 5 kills. Units lost tab looking a little bit better for Elazer still. And 11 Marines... 15 Marines, sorry. 2 medevacs with stim going across the map. Behind this, combat shields is on the way. The 4th and 5th barracks is down. And we see the depot wall at the 3rd. The siege tank spread here. This defensive setup here from Uthermal. This drops are just here to slow down the creep to be as annoying as possible. That's cute. Oh, dropped just 2 Marines there. But actually, there's already Hydras out. Oh, dude, this is such a nightmare as Uthermal, because the moment you see that, you know you need to spend so much more APM trying to keep that safe. And uh-oh, this Banshee stayed too long. Almost took down a Queen, but not quite. And you know, he didn't get the creep tumor. There's Hydras there. He knows he has to keep an eye on these drops. He can't just, like, waltz them into a dangerous position. He's got to be really careful. The one thing that's working out well for him is Elazer hasn't droned the 4th yet. And I feel like that's Elazer failing to capitalize on his advantage. He's going for a fast hive as well, but I mean, you're going to have to drone this 4th base if you want to go hive. I can't imagine he's going to play a 68 drone style. Maybe it's because he's been losing the previous games and that's getting to him, but I definitely think with how this early game went, Elazer had the room to squeeze out another 12, 14 drones at least. Get up into the 80s. He's adding them now, but a little bit later than it could have been. We've got a drop on the north side coming forward. The medevac takes a lot of damage from that Queen. These Marines on the south side trying to pick off what they can. A few Marines do end up falling, as well as Zerglings. And these Marines here are like, oh my god, there's so much creep. They're like, I don't know if you guys ever had bad acne as teenagers. And like your mom was ever like, oh my god, your pimples, you need to get rid of these pimples, and she's like, oh, you need to fucking pop them or something like that, and you're like, no mom, I'm not gonna do that, it's gonna like scar my face and shit. These Marines are like really determined mums trying to like scratch pimples off the Zerg children's face right now. It's like really weird and kind of confusing and dark, but yeah, right now he's actually doing a good job with almost no units. Like Uthermal even takes a fight here, which I never would have taken. I can't believe he judged that so well. You madman. Oh, but he goes into the Hydras, and that's what I was talking about. You've got to keep an eye on those drops. The moment you look away, being this deep in enemy territory can bite you in the ass. The drop in the top left also getting hunted down as well. We've got Vipers already out, Ultra Cavern already on the way. So even though Elazer has definitely not had as big an economy, and Uthermal's economy is still roaring with that fast 4th built on location, we're definitely seeing like Vipers coming out faster, Ultra Cavern coming out faster, and this is an adjustment because Uthermal is not trying to kill him on 3 base. He saw in the previous game, he's like, you know what? You're actually just committing really hard to the late game. You've got so many tanks, so much endless bio, and then you've got a sick liberated transition. He's like, well, there's only one way you can be doing this, and that's with a much heavier commitment to macro. You know, he saw that Uthermal wasn't shoving his way in, diving onto creep into dangerous territory. Speaking of dangerous territory, though, Uthermal with a Marine up ahead, he doesn't realize, guys, the Banelings, oh my god, a massive burrowed Baneling here, takes out a ton of Marines there. That was huge. The Marine count goes down to just 42. I think there's about 15 Marines that died there. A lot more that got damaged. There is a drop in the back of the natural, but the Spore Thrillers shut down the medevac. And those Marines only getting 2 drones before they do get cleaned up. Oh, and here we go. Great blinding clouds on the tanks. The tanks are a little bit too clumped, and Zerglings and Hydras on top of those siege tanks gonna do a good job. Marines coming in for a little bit of cleanup, but all the valuable tanks are gone. Think about this difference compared to that previous game 1. Every time Elazer cleaned it up, there was siege tanks left, right? And that was the big kind of difference. This time, Uthermal got a bit over eager there, trying to multitask the drop. If those tanks were spread out, maybe he hangs onto this position. But now, Ultras are out, Vipers are out, Chitinous Plating is almost done. And even though the upgrades are in Uthermal's favor and about to get more so in the next 2 minutes, I mean, it doesn't matter. The tech is there for Elazer. He's got the meaty army. He's up 50 army supply. What can Uthermal do? Already a huge Zergling counter. Going to be making its way down there. Probably will be able to get on top of the siege tank. This time he does scan the burrowed banelings and take those out. This siege tank is going to have his work cut out. Sensor tower sees the counterattack. Zerglings back off. Not able to find anything. Uthermal's got a long road ahead of him in this game. If he wants to bring it back, Liberators, yep. Extra starports, yep. You're going to need both of those. But you're also going to need to buy a lot of time while somehow keeping the creep back. And that's the hard bit. Elazer splitting his army up. Remember I was talking about how he should have bigger counterattacks to overwhelm this single or double siege tank defense, which he's been blocking everything with. This time he splits his army in two. He's hitting the north, he's hitting the south. The parasitic bomb lands on the medevac, pulls back on the south side, but continues to commit on the north. Banelings are going to take down that depot wall. Ultras are loose in the mineral line. Actually, this wall-off doing so well for Uthermal, but that command center getting dangerously low. Watch the hit points down there. We've got a counter drop on the other side of the map. 5 drones and a base are falling. The orbital lifts just in time before it goes down. A hatchery actually manages to go down here, and Uthermal, in the chaos, finds a base snipe while defending at home, hunts down the Ultralisks, relands his Expo, starts the repair job, gets the spawning pool, denies the Adrenal, gets one Viper, gets a second Viper, is going to load into that medevac, and will be able to get over there. He's going to try to hunt down that Viper. He knows that he's almost dead, but I think he's actually going to escape. Those Hydras hesitated for a moment too long, and this medevac will get on out of there. Uthermal closing the supply gap, but the income is still looking very healthy here for the Zerg player. Of course, a bit of a mineral lead with all the mules that are dropping on these bases for Uthermal. And he's starting to clear a bit of creep on this north side, but overall, map dominance still goes to Elazer. Elazer's got 2-3 upgrades coming in. They're going to be finishing. That's going to close the upgrade gap. Spire's almost finished. Spawning pool is rebuilding right now, and bases being rebuilt all over the map. That's what Elazer needs to do to secure his advantage. Burrowed Zergling as well being annoying, trying to deny this Expo, and that's awesome. So we've got... doesn't work. I don't know how to make that work, Booyah. I think you need to actually... Control Shift I? Ah, that one. Well, it's just Control Y for the regular one. But yeah, I don't know how to bring up those graphs that base trade use. I think they're the only ones that use them. Marines trying to pull back here. Oh my god, parasitic bomb lands on the middle of everything at the same time. Lings, Banes, and Ultras running through here. Uthermal manages to throw back the enemy on the south side, but takes massive damage to his air army from that PB. The parasitic bomb is running over him, and Banelings come in while Uthermal's not watching. Managed to get some pretty sick detonations. Uthermal just sustaining way too much damage when he lost all those siege tanks in that first push, and Liberators fly into their death. Siege tanks popping out on top of Ultralisks. Never what you want to have happen. And looks like Elazer's massive creep spread, massive dominance in that regard was enough to do this. So microing is a little hard out right now. Don't think it will be enough. Let's check out the APM tab. Holy shit. Elazer, of course, the fastest pro gamer, I believe. I think he's the fastest in the world in terms of just consistent APM speed. Obviously, that doesn't mean too much, but it just means he presses buttons really bloody fast. Even if some of the orders are redundant, he's definitely issuing them bloody quickly. And I gotta say, watching him first person, it's incredible. I feel like he's gotten even better in the last year and a half. Elazer's mechanics are just flawless thing of beauty. Watching him play first person, just every single, mouse click, every single button click was so perfectly accurate. Whilst he was I was watching him practicing at IAM, and he was casually just chatting to Scarlet. This was before the tournament even started, playing against absolute top GM Korean ladder players, and he just was chatting to her and just playing flawlessly. He's incredibly good. Elazer is fast. He's a beast. Probably the one of the absolute best Zergs in the world at the moment. feel like he keeps getting better and better. Uthermal's put up a good fight in this game, but a little bit too far behind. And Bio, definitely a very momentum-focused composition, especially against these Hydralisk-based Zergs. Once you start losing and they get that creep out, it can be really hard to seal the deal. So, good attempt, not quite going to get it done. Disruptors do go down. Uthermal still doesn't use camera hotkeys. Let's put this on Uthermal's camera. He just double taps his production. You can see his control groups in the bottom. Engineering bays on 0, 3, 5, 6, 7 for orbitals, barracks, factories, and starports. And I think specifically because this is such a messy situation, he's not even using control groups for his army. He's basically just saying, look, I'm fighting in so many places, I have to do everything manually anyway. Relying on control groups is actually a bad habit in this sort of messy game where I've got to fight all over the place. So instead, he's only got a single, he's got those 2 counterattack liberators hotkeyed on 1 and 2, and he actually doesn't have anything else control grouped, which is so awesome. That's actually so cool. Yeah, he has no vision. I mean, he's dead. He knows he's lost this game. He's just trying to like micro and fight as hard as he can. Pirate Ultra on the ramp. And you can see how quick he is at zooming around. A lot of this is clicking on the minimap. You gotta remember. He does have maximum scroll speed set as well. So when he does scroll, you can see his mouse just kind of flips very quickly to other locations. He's got some interesting mechanics there. But sick play in the down and dirty games. GG. Can we ask Elazer post game how many keyboards he's busted with that APM? Indeed. Indeed we can. Now comes the true test for Elazer, guys. The true test. The rush map. Biogenesis. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. This is the rush map. If you don't manage to surprise the Terran early, good luck, have fun, guys. And kind of catch him out. If you can't establish a lead, it is so hard to win this map if it gets to the mid-game on even footing. As the Zerg, you want to mess the game up, or you want to play the sickest Ravager defense style, Snoot style play you possibly can. Spawning down here in the bottom right, starting to rally in this series, does manage to get a point on the board, needs to win 2 in a row to close it out. Representing Q-Lash, the Polish Zerg, it is Elazer. And up here in the top left-hand side of the map, in the blue, the Terran player. It is Thermi. Question in chat from You Mad Cause You Bad says, Pig, why aren't pros binding uprooted spore crawlers with their Vipers so they can run around and then consume mid-map? That's something I used to do a lot. A lot of the time now, if you've got the map control, I will still build Evo chamber banks in the middle of the map. You'll see players do that. They build a few extra Evo chambers to just suck energy off. The reason they don't do that with the spore crawlers is just because it's not cost efficient. It just costs a lot of minerals. It's 125 minerals. It's like a drone and the spore and the APM of doing that, when you can usually go in for an engage, grab units or blinding cloud units, and then you want to kind of pull back, focus on your macro a bit anyway, focus on your defense, your spreading creep. So it naturally fits in that you want to run back with your Vipers, suck energy off your buildings that already are there, hatcheries, Evo chambers, Bane Nest, whatever you know, buildings you want to take a bit of health off. And then you can basically still get back over there in time for the next fight usually. So rather than spending a whole bunch of APM and money on something which, while it speeds up the Vipers, it almost gets the energy too fast on them, and they also keep dying very quickly. You only get like 1.5 sucks of energy or 2 sucks out of a spore crawler, so you end up spending a lot of money in APM on something, which isn't really the limiting factor. You know, it's not the Vipers running out of energy that's the limiting factor a lot of the time. Definitely there are situations where it is, but most of the time it's not. So that's why players tend to not do it. It's a really good question though, and like it is something a lot of high-level players experimented with a ton in the early game, in the early days of Legacy of the Void. I used to use it quite a bit, and you know what? It looks bloody cool, so I might try and do it. 2 sucks. What else do you call it? 2 consumes? I guess that sounds much. I don't know why. Sucks just sounds natural, even though it sounds so stupid and wrong. All right, guys, we've actually seen a hatchery first from Elazer. So a really generic opening from Elazer, going for the fast link speed behind this. And the SCV down there, of course, Uthermal had to scout for one base Ravager. He did have to change his build order, and he actually did go, I believe, gas first this game. So he's gone for the SCV scout, the Reaper's coming to harass, and he's gone for a factory and a reactor behind this. Nice little bit of damage peppered out from that Reaper, but perfect control from Elazer. Doesn't sustain a single loss. That's a dangerous creep tumor right there. That was really... If Thermi decided to poke in, he could have sniped that. The Zerglings weren't there, and the Queen was actually behind the creep tumor. So a little bit lax there from Elazer. A bit risky, does get away with it though. And he's going to block this. This SCV still blocking this third base location. A fantastic choice, I think, from Uthermal. And I'm very curious to see what Elazer chooses to do next. It's going to be, of course, the Starport and the Tech Lab Barracks. I mean, this is what you do on this map as Terran. You go Hellions, you scout with an SCV, you scout with a Reaper, and then you go Hellion Banshee to make sure you don't die. Obviously adding Cyclones if you need to. So these Queens coming out here, they're looking to try to deny this Reaper. I don't know. I mean, Elazer saw the Reaper head that direction. He should know it's coming into his main base, but he's not in position. This Reaper wants to get a scout. He wants to see if there's any sort of Roach Warren or Baneling Nest in here. He's going to go for the drones. Ooh, nice Spore Crawler trick there from Elazer. Does manage to save that. The Zerglings are going to come in. And Uthermal, not really seeing too much, but didn't see anything really suspicious. I mean, he saw the gas wasn't mining, actually. That tells him all he needs to know. I was like, he didn't see anything pop out of the eggs, or a Roach Warren or a Bane Nest, so he's not really sure. No. He saw there was no gas mining this whole time. Just a single guy on gas. There's very little gas missing from the extractor. Ooh, let me go out of the shot so you guys can see. Wait. I gotta go that way. There we go. His gas count. So he sees there wasn't a lot of gas mined from the extractor. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Oh shit! I think I know what we're seeing, guys. Queens working their way across the map, but Banshees, they're gonna have Cloak though. I mean, these Queens, are they gonna try and intercept this Banshee? Oh, they missed each other. Oh no! Oh man! This is crazy. He's actually building spores back at home, and he's doing Roach Sling. So he wants to go Roach Sling Queen. The Banshee comes in, is like, here's your third base, I'm going to harass. He doesn't know what's going on yet, though. He's only got one Marine. He's building more Marines, and he is making stim. He wants to play Bio, but he doesn't know what's happening just yet. He's building an eBay at the front, hasn't finished his wall off. This Banshee's going to come in, and I think he should see everything he needs to see, really, to know what's happening, but I'm not 100% sure if he realizes just yet. Zerglings are making their way across. Roaches are going to be here soon. Of course, they'll morph into Ravagers. The problem here is the Banshee, it doesn't have a lot of energy, and the other one's already used its Cloak, so this can wail on the Queens for a while, but it's going to run out in about 30 seconds. So it only gets about 30 seconds of free damage on these Queens before it's going to have to actually fight straight up uncloaked. For now, though, the Queens are almost out of energy, and I think that Banshee might actually be able to take them all down. SCV's pulled to the high ground. A great response there from Uthermal. His other Banshee did end up falling. This Banshee does take down one Queen. A second Queen will fall, and it has to back off. The third Queen does end up pushing it away, but two Cyclones are out. So far, a fantastic defense here from Uthermal, but massive droning behind it from Elazer. He's already up about 15, 16 workers. He's going to just try to focus down what he can. He's got to start unit production behind this. Roach speed and more Roaches are on the way. These Roaches just trying to focus down one Marine. Will they get another? No, they won't. And I think immediately Uthermal's going to counterattack. He's poking out there. He's looking for what's going on. His Hellions are going to have a scout first of all. This Overlord will go down. And it's just mass Roaches. Roach speed and +1 are on the way. So Roach Ravager going to do very well. There is a second Banshee out though. These Banshees, if they don't die, they're going to be a hard counter to any sort of Roach Ravager all in. Especially now that siege tanks are on the way. And with well-placed siege tanks, you can defend that sort of push. So Elazer definitely needs to build a good chunk of Roach Ravager, but if he doesn't swap back into droning soon and just tries to go for a big attack, I feel like the Banshees will counteract that. But actually, one Banshee goes down. That's really good for Elazer. Any more of those he can kill, it's going to be great. And look at this. Roach is going around the left-hand side. I think he wants to surprise him by coming in from this angle, or run up, knock the wall down, and get in there, hopefully catching a siege tank in the open. If Uthermal's being really safe, his siege tank will be sieged really far back, maybe there, or potentially even on the high ground. This siege tank placement is key. These Queens coming forward, they want to deflect the Banshee. The Banshee comes forward, but it's taking damage and it's out of this energy. So these Queens can actually come forward with the push if they so choose. And that's going to be massive. I don't know if the Banshee caught a glimpse of those Roaches. More tanks are on the way. The siege tank a little bit far forward. It's going to dish out some damage, but it is a little bit exposed. No Ravagers in the army just yet. There is Tunneling Claws and Burrow on the way. A second Evo Chamber. Elazer not going to commit. I mean, I can't fault him for it. He's 3 base versus 2. Maybe just mass up units on this sort of 55, maybe go up to 60 drones, but don't go up to full saturation. And this Banshee is still looking for an idea of what's going on. Uthermal drops the scan, a key scan. He sees the drone count is not big on the 3rd. Uthermal does lose that Banshee, but this is important. He sees the drone count wasn't too impressive. He did see more drones joining the base, so I think Uthermal, he's got to say to himself, look, there's a big army out there, but he swapped back to droning, so maybe I can pressure, but I've got to be so careful with this. And the creep spread all over this map. That beautiful queen push setting this up here. Elazer comes forward. He's going to take one big siege tank shot. The stim's already going down. Remember, there's not a high medevac count because he was building those extra Banshees. Only 2, soon to be 4 medevacs out on the map. More Roaches and Ravagers are making. I think he's got to flank. Elazer can't just attack from one direction. I mean, he can't do this from one angle. He's got to be flanking this with one big surround. Surely that's the way to take this army down. He might be looking, of course, for a tunneling clause engagement. But these siege tanks starting to get some very nice shots down. Elazer's got to fight this. He's going in the queens. He wants to tank the siege tank shots. The siege tanks are going down in the rear of this army. But at the same time, the bio jumps in and kills all of the Ravagers. And that was actually a beautiful engagement from both sides. Uthermal capitalizing on the fact that Elazer's army was split, but Elazer taking out the key siege tanks in the army of Uthermal at the same time. I think this might just be a few too many Marines, though. 15 more Roaches are going to pop out soon, but some great just focus fire from those Marines gunning this down, and I think Elazer might have just overstepped with that engage. I mean, he's still 3 base versus 2. If he can just hang on, get his units together. This is a good flank. He comes in with the surround. There is a siege tank up in the back, though, and that's going to be big. Tries to drop the corrosive bile there. The angling is too good. Elazer's managed to hold on, just barely deflects this assault, and with a bit of tunneling claw micro to heal up those Roaches as well. That's going to be so nice. Elazer here holds on. He's on 61 drones versus just 41 SCVs. Of course, I was talking about Uthermal scouting. I actually forgot that he didn't even have a 3rd command center, which is why he had no choice. He saw drones going onto the 3rd. He had to push right then. Potentially, maybe splitting his army and keeping his tanks alive was more important than jumping on the Ravagers. Might have been the better way to engage, you know, intercept that flank that came down from the high ground. But as it was, you know, Elazer had the right numbers. He snuck 4 Roaches into the base, comes in from underground, pops up and starts damaging the worker line. I mean, this is not even really necessary right now, but it's just a great way to trade off the units. And look at this, he's just burrowing these Roaches, spreading them into different areas of the base, knowing this is going to be very difficult for Uthermal to deal with. So Elazer being very annoying. He's got creep everywhere. He sees the entire map. And his Roach Ravager count still looking very scary. He's got a 4th up. He's got 7 more workers on the way. We'll be wanting to put guys on that gas. There we go. No infestation pit, no Hydroden. So he's just saying, look, just mass Roach Ravager should be all I need. He's on 2 base. I'm on 4. We don't need to get overcomplicated and go for fungal or anything. We just need to have enough raw material to smash him in the face. Infestation pit will go down now as he nears max, because obviously as you near out max, Roaches become worse and worse. But for now, Mass Roach Ravager takes these rocks down, making sure he can't be cut off later on in the game, as that's always a very frustrating maneuver to deal with. Marines, tanks, and Liberators coming across this map. There aren't that many Ravagers, so it's going to be hard to deal with the Libs. I think Elazer needs to go for a bigger flank. I don't know if this is a big enough one. I'd love to see him flank from all sides. Instead, he's slightly choked up as he goes in here, and the upgrades are actually even on both sides. His 2-2 is not done. This is a terrible engagement for Elazer. I can't believe he took that fight. I think he might have just thrown this game, guys. He needed to come in with a full surround, and he needed to bide his time. This is still such a scary army from Uthermal. I think Elazer just thought he had a big enough army, and he's just shocked by the numbers coming out of Uthermal's macro. I think it's a bit harsh calling that a throw, to be honest. That's a fearsome push from Uthermal, and Elazer just, I think, underestimated it slightly. He droned up a little bit too far here. You know, droning up to 70 workers versus a 2-base opponent, not what you want to be doing, and Elazer not quite able to hang on. Of course, this is Biogenesis. It's a new map. The players don't have as much practice on it. And we do see players make these uncharacteristic misjudgments on these new maps in these very weird sorts of games where normally Elazer is not a Roach Ravager guy. But like I said, if you're going to play a normal game, you've got to play Roach Ravager on this map. You need to use ranged units, because melee just isn't going to work out very well on such a small map with so many ridges on it. Too many angles for a ranged army to gain advantage. Let's look at that fight one more time. That's a 3-1 victory for Uthermal there. And yeah, I mean, he did build drones right there. Like, he just built 7 or 8 drones. He got to 67 drones versus just 37. So he's only up about 20 army supply at this point. And with his upgrades, like 40 seconds from finishing, wait for +2. But most importantly, I don't think he realized just how tight this choke point is. And this area here isn't that big either. I think if he comes in from that side, like he comes in, bam, up here and around the north at the same time, I think he can take this out. But as it was, his army kind of choked up. So it wasn't quite able to hang on. Whoops. All right. So yeah, I think you know, you could see these areas, bam, bam, not wide enough chokes, not when you've got Ravagers running into them. Ravagers are fat. But if you add these angles as well, the tank splash is naturally going to be more spread out. Your units are going to close with his longer ranged army sooner. You've got to come in from all of these angles. You can't just come in from one. Weatherman is here. He draws some beautiful art there. And unfortunately, that does go to... unfortunately for Elazer, it goes to Uthermal. But great play from Uthermal. Takes the series 3-1. We see these units. They all got choked up right there. Right there. And man, a terrible engagement, unfortunately, for Elazer. If he could buy just a little bit more time, he had way more units reinforcing. If he could, I mean, even sacrificing this base and just counterattacking with everything would have been really good. Because you know you've got more income, you know, you've got Ravagers, which you can pick away at this sort of army as it moves across. I think also not being in position to slow the push down is a big mistake. You know, as soon as this army was moving out, at this stage, why was Elazer's army sitting back here? It was right as he went back to clear the rocks. Whereas if he was out here, he'd already be pushing forward and the tanks and liberators would be forced to siege here. Move forward, siege. Because you'd go in, they'd siege, you'd pull back. And you'd slow this push down, it would give you more time. But because Elazer happened to pull back just at that moment to break those rocks, it was very, very fortuitous timing from Uthermal. It worked out, and he managed to take it down. GG, well played. Incredible play from both players. Sick play. Dude. And